that hopes to thrill you a little and chill you a little. Patience as we pull into Death Station.
All aboard!
Hello and welcome to the month of Spooky, and, of course, the Horror Express. Jason and Ron have a lot planned for this trip. Also, I should think you are going to like the surprise that the conductor has for Jason. It should be a roaring success. But before we join Jason and Ron in Car 13, here is quite a special edition of the 5-Minute Mystery.
Another 5-Minute Mystery.
This 5-Minute Mystery is being brought to you by Jim Harold Media, LLC. The home to everything from the spooky to crime scene investigations. If you want to learn more, head to jimharold.com. There you will find the answers you seek, or at least a whole bunch of new questions. And now, this week's mystery.
Hello. Yes, this is Dr. Fangfist. You again. This is outrageous. You just can't keep killing me each week. I'll not stand for it. Now you listen to me. You've shot me, then blown me up, run me over with cattle. What else can you possibly do?
Hey, Chief. It's him again, and well, this time you gotta see this for yourself. If I had to guess, I'd say it was a chainsaw. No recording this time, but there is a sealed envelope here. I'll have one of the boys bring it right over to you.
I received this email from Tracy Jensen in Omaha, Nebraska. Tracy writes, "Hello, Ron. I love the podcast and wanted to share my scary story. I am a mail carrier in Nebraska, and sometimes we have to work some strange hours. One evening I was working late because of the volume of mail I had to deliver that day. It was in December, and the sun had already gone down. I was driving along an unlit street that only had one mailbox at the end. I pulled up to it, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone running towards me at an unbelievable speed. I turned just in time to see a freaky face staring at me through the closed window. It vanished as fast as it appeared and was gone. I looked around and saw no one. I shoved the mail in the box and tore out of there. 2 weeks later, I got an end-of-service notice for that address. It appears the resident had died." Tracy Jensen, Omaha, Nebraska. Wow, Tracy, that story sent a chill down my spine. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Wow.
Well, the note didn't help much. I don't think we're gonna solve this case, Chief. The only thing I can think to do is call in a specialist. Do you still have Sherlock's number?
on Sherlock Holmes, huh? Well, I hope it works for them because I didn't see anything that could help solve these repeated crimes against Dr. Fangfest. Will this case remain unsolved? Only time will tell. My thanks to Tracy Jensen for sending in that sealed note. Hey, Jason. Wow, that's a nice shirt. Is it new?
Yes, sir. Just got it from the latest Vincent Price horror collection.
I didn't know that was a thing.
For those who know, we know.
I guess that makes sense.
Hey guys, you've got to come down to the nursery car. I have a new kitten and he's just so adorable.
Oh, what's his name?
I call him Cuddles.
This is going to be it for me, isn't it?
I don't know what you mean. It's just a kitty.
Well, I have been blown up, squashed, turned to stone, and eaten by a hound. Don't you tell me that it's just a kitty. What's the real story behind this?
Jason, I would never knowingly put you in danger. It's just a little kitten. He is so cute, too, and I just know you love animals.
He's right, Jason, you do. Come on now, let's go see him.
Okay, I know I'm in for it. Where's the beast? I don't see any kitten anywhere. If this is all a trick,
Over here, in this little box.
The conductor reaches into a small cardboard box and produces a calico kitty. He is purring so loudly that you can hear it all through the entire train. A collective sigh resounds from each car.
What greater gift than the love of a kitty?
wow. Cuddles is actually pretty cute. Here, let me hold him. Ow!
Jason, maybe you should have asked first?
Oh, it wouldn't have mattered. You see, I trained Cuddles to attack all Floridonians on sight.
Wow, that's pretty specific. Are you okay, Jason?
Ow!
Now, let us join Jason and Ron on the Horror Express, bound for nowhere.
Well, Jason, I see you're all somewhat mended. How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, a little bit better.
I'm sorry about your Vincent Price shirt. That was kind of a cool shirt.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a thriller at one time too, right?
Or should I say, That was my Vincent Price laugh.
Yeah, I think we figured that out.
It wasn't. I don't think it was very good.
Oh man, Ron, that was funky. But man, you know what? I have got to clean myself up. I'm a bloody mess. My shirt's screwed up, so I got to get a new shirt. I need to be distracted by something here while I'm doing this, because this is going to sting putting some peroxide on this stuff. I guarantee it. So how about, I heard you had a story. How about you distract me with a story while I go ahead and patch my wound?
Well, you know, it just so happens that we have a story. I'm going to just let it do its thing then. I'm going to play you a creepy ghost story. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
This tale was sent in by Sonia Black from Deary, New Hampshire. She sent it in along with a photo of the bread and breakfast that they stayed at in the story. I will include a link in the show notes. Sonia calls her story, I Got Yelled At by a Ghost. About 25 years ago, my husband and I were in Iowa to attend a family wedding, staying at a Victorian bread and breakfast called the Bishop House. When we reserved the room, we were told, I thought, It was called the Roman chamber. But what exactly was Roman about it was not very evident. It was very beautiful, however, with a fireplace, stained glass windows, antique furnishings, and an amazing original marble shower in the bathroom. Unfortunately, the first night of the 3-day stay, it was impossible for me to fall asleep in the huge ornate bed, but I chalked that up to excitement over the wedding and being in unfamiliar surroundings. Saturday, after the wedding and reception, we returned to our room exhausted. I fell asleep as soon as I laid down. Then the dreams began. In them, I saw a very angry man leaning over me, demanding to know why I was in his bedroom. He said, "Don't you know what a scandal it would be if I were found to have a woman in my bed?" I woke up absolutely terrified because the experience was so real, and slept maybe 15 minutes the rest of the night. You see, I didn't want to get yelled at again. The next morning, I told my husband about my experience. He just said I had a vivid imagination, or maybe it was just too much cake and champagne. Sunday was our last day, and after breakfast, we got to talking with the B&B hosts. They filled us in on the long history of the house. It's currently owned by St. Ambrose University. However, previously it was the residence of a Catholic bishop of Davenport, hence the name, the Bishop House. Then they showed us a book of clippings. I literally fell out of my chair and lost it. I saw the photo of my night visitor, Bishop Henry Rollman, who served from 1927 through 1944 and occupied the very room we'd been spending our nights in. Henceforth, the room was actually named in his honor the Rollman Chamber, not Roman Chamber. Sonia Black, Deary, New Hampshire. Well, Jason, what did you think of that story?
That was a pretty cool story. You know, I love stuff like that. And I've stayed in bed and breakfast myself, so I know that they can be really creepy in beautiful ways. And I could see this actually happening.
I think when I look at things like this, and I wonder, since it was a dream and not an actual manifestation, I've always wondered how it is possible for a ghost to actually enter our dreams. Is it the spirit just reaching out, or is it something more?
Well, I believe that they can have some type of impact on us in some way, shape, or form. Technically, people say that when you fall asleep, you're actually able to go to the other realm, where we go at when we die and actually talk to our family members and stuff. It's possible that if that's true, that could be the way that they do communicate with us and tell us about things. We don't always remember it when we wake up. Sometimes we do, but that could be where this ghost was actually able to talk to her. Maybe she was having literally like an out-of-body experience, or she was a little bit more subconscious with her unconscious state, if that makes sense.
Well, when you look at the situation, I couldn't help but laugh, because you think about the piousness of a bishop. Mm-hmm. And suppose that it was suppose it was some sort of time dimensional shift, mm-hmm. not a ghost experience at all, that she somehow was able to go back into, let's say, 1944. That's when they said he was there, roughly. And she is actually in his bed, mm-hmm. in some sort of time slip. You read about them all the time, people having all kinds of experiences where they find themselves on streets that don't look right. Everything looks wrong, like it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So why couldn't that be the answer? Why couldn't she actually travel to his room, which in that case, it becomes quite humorous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Here comes this pious, opens his door, and here is a woman in his bed. A bishop.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the people to share a bed with, it's a bishop. It's kind of crazy.
So I don't know, but I'm willing to accept the fact that it could be not a ghost at all, but an actual time travel.
Very well could be.
We'll call it time shift. People don't like the word time travel anymore.
Yes, that's true.
So, Jason, truthfully now, are you leaning more towards fake story, believable story, ghost entering a dream, or time shift? Which one do you think has the most validity?
Well, I guess in my opinion, and from what I've seen and talked with other people, I kind of want to say it is part of the ghost talking to her in a dream, but I also believe that it's time travel as well. It's a good possibility. It just time travel in a subconscious state. So I believe it could be both. I think it's about 50-50. I know it may sound weird, but that's kind of what the feeling I'm getting off of it.
Well, I'm going to totally dismiss the idea that it's a fake story. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't have the feel. She isn't saying that she saw a ghost. She isn't saying that she traveled through time. She's saying, I had a dream. So this happened. This is an actual event that happened. Secondly, was it time travel or was it a ghost visitation? Well, you know where I'm going to fall on this. And yes. I am going to say that I'm on the idea that this was an actual time shift, only because I myself have experienced a time shift. I think I've talked about this. I was in the park, broad daylight, and I'm looking at a shadow of a guy wearing a fedora in the middle of a bright sunny day. That does not happen, and that was not a ghost. Time shift. That's what I'm leaning towards. Well, Jason, I think it's time to pay the bills. Can you stick around for the Audible commercial?
You know I can.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, computer, Kindle, whatever you have, you can listen to Audible on it. So what am I listening to right now? Fireside Stories, a Halloween special written by various authors and narrated by Terry Self. Now, Jason, I'll bet you love a good Halloween story.
Oh, you know I do.
Well, in 2016, the Wicked Little Things talk radio show broadcasted a series of Halloween stories. These Fireside Stories, as they were called, were a huge hit with the listeners, and the decision was quickly made to publish these tales of terror into an anthology. You will hear stories about an unreasonable fear of the dark. Also, during a routine stop at a hotel, as one guest left wondering if anyone there isn't a ghost, including herself. Another story reminds us to never drive on dark county roads surrounded by a forest. Why? Because something bad is always going to happen. Well, Jason, does that sound like something that you would listen to?
Oh, absolutely, I would.
Well, you can have this Halloween treat today. Here's what Audible has set up for us. Audible is offering a free audiobook and 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. And you can get your free book today. Thank you, Audible. Well, Jason, thanks for doing that. Audible is definitely coming through, and people are actually going in and taking advantage of this. And so I appreciate you taking the time to do that with me.
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't have to say much, but hey, it's the thought that counts. All right, Jason, what do you got for us?
Well, we have our mailbag opened. The post office just dropped off some stuff at the mailbox, and I think we should read what we got.
Well, I am excited about it. It wasn't exactly the post office, but I'll go with that. What I did was I sent out a tweet, and I asked people. I said, "Hey, Jason and I are getting ready to record. I need some questions," and 3 people came through. How about that?
Well, you know, they say a little birdie can tell you a lot of stuff, so he could be a mailman too.
All right, Jason.
So let's get into these tweets here that we got. This first one's actually for me. It says, Jason, have you ever been scared on a ghost hunt, and what happened? Mark Harris from Los Angeles, California. Well, Mark, actually, I have never been scared on a ghost hunt at all. I'm actually one of those weird people that can go through these haunted houses, like at the local parks, or some of these things around Halloween, and they're horrifying other people, and they come right up in my face when I don't even expect it, and I just yawn. So I have this really weird disorder, which I probably should see a doctor about. I don't really have fear in me. However, I have been intimidated on a ghost hunt before. And one of the things that I've always wanted to talk about on this particular show is my experience at the Dartford Cemetery in Wisconsin. It was actually featured on a haunting show, which was on A&E or Destination America, something like that, a long time ago. So I wanted to see this place because when you go to the cemetery, it's filled with Native Americans. It's filled with a lot of kids, believe it or not. And it's supposedly one of the most haunted cemeteries in Wisconsin. So we decided to go up there one night. It was a drive from Milwaukee. So we got up there probably around 9, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And I'm sick as hell. I'm not going to lie, I was sick as hell. But I was not going to leave Wisconsin without seeing this place. So what happens is when you go inside the cemetery, sometimes the cemetery stones change from one stone to another, or they change names, and it's kind of like you're not even there. So it's got like a really weird vortex feel to it. But there's also this one crypt that when you go sit on this crypt, it cracks down top of it, and then a light comes out and you get pushed off. Some people have gotten physically hurt off of it. Now, unfortunately, I had to be really careful because it's completely surrounded with houses. And I didn't realize that because I thought it looked exactly the same as the television, but it did not. Nothing close to it at all. But I did find the crypt. So I decided I'm going to sit on this crypt and I am going to allow it to push me off. In fact, I even kind of taunted it a little bit to do so. And I don't normally do that, but I wanted some experience. I wanted to see if there's anything about this particular cemetery that I could validate.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like you at all.
No, it doesn't. But sometimes I take stuff on television like a grain of salt. So anyways, I'm sitting out there. Nothing happened. However, I did look down and there was a crack through the marble, which is pretty significant, but it was there. It didn't just appear on its way for a ghost appearing. And then I took a picture. Now, I do kind of see a face in the picture, but I'm on the skeptical side of it because I took it with my phone. Now, I did not use flash. I did not use flash at all. And you can see like a glowing eyes. Now, where I was looking at, there was nothing but woods behind it. There was really there's no houses or anything else out there. That was a little intimidating. I'll tell you that. But I was never pushed off this particular crypt. Now, I really wanted it to. And I knew that I could possibly get seriously injured on this. And I was prepared for that. So that was about the most intimidating thing I've ever had with a ghost hunt that I've been on, because I was literally leaving myself open for injury. And you kind of expect that. So it's kind of like if you fly over your handlebars, for that quick second, the entire world stands still and you can kind of think, how am I going to land? Do you think they're going to break anything? Is this really going to seriously hurt? Am I going to be bleeding all over the place? And then you hit the ground. Well, that's kind of what happened here. So I was prepared for it. I was anticipating it. What really felt like, 25 minutes up there was really only about 10. And then what ended up happening was we got kicked out of the cemetery by some of the local people, because after that cemetery aired on a haunting, it drew a lot of people, and people were actually destroying the stones, which is a travesty in itself. So we left, and I do have those pictures. I still have them on my phone, and it's interesting. I can't say what it is for sure, but there's just something weird about them. But it's interesting. So that was about the only thing that I had happen to me where I was actually intimidated, but I've never been scared on a investigation at all.
Well, that sounds pretty freaky. Is there any chance that we can get those photos into the show notes?
Absolutely. I'll send them to you.
So, folks, I'll have those photos. You can take a look and see what Jason's talking about. I'd love to see them myself.
Well, they will be on the way in just a little bit. I'll send another birdie to send them to you.
A tweet. All right, Jason. Do we have I know we have another one because there's 3.
We got 2 of them, yes, left to go. And this one's actually for you. It said, Ron, what is the strangest story you've ever had on the podcast? By Mary Nelson of Oakdale, California. We've got a lot of people from California today.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You would think with the hundreds and hundreds of stories that I've had now in the last 8 years, this would be hard. It's not even a contest. This story that I am thinking of is one of the craziest. It's right up there. If it's true, it should be right up there with Roswell. That's how crazy this story is. And it isn't. I have done research on this. I can't find anything out about it. I can't find anything to substantiate it. I can't even find anything that would dismiss it. There's nothing. But it is, without the doubt, the strangest story I've ever heard, and I have it queued up and ready to go. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely.
All right. This story was sent in by Richard. Richard is not his real name, nor is he from any place in the United States. Confused? I received this cryptic email several months back. I read it unedited. I have a story that I want to tell on your show, but I don't want you to know where I got it or who sent it. I will write the story down to the best of my ability, but you should know that English is not my first language. My wife is an American, and we enjoy American things. If this were known outside my country, it could cause trouble. You are welcome to interpret and use my story any way you want. I only ask that you assign it to the name Richard. Well, I sent Richard a return email saying that I would love his story and would do my best at trying to interpret it, keep the feel and the events the same. I did not receive a response and quite frankly forgot about it, thinking that the whole thing was a sham. A few weeks later, I received the story from Richard and immediately set to work translating it. What you are about to hear is what I came up with. To Richard, I say I hope I did this justice and that you like it. Please write me back and let me know. For the record, I never heard back from him, and I have since closed the case. Here is Richard's story that I have titled Building 7. I'm in the military, and as such, I'm subject to certain laws and restrictions. Simply put, what happens on the job stays on the job. If I choose to discuss a thing that happens, it could lead to imprisonment or, at best case, dismissal. Because of this, I hesitate to share my story. In the end, I want to tell it, and this seems to be the safest and best way. My wife and I love your podcast and listen to when we can get to an internet cafe. We've been known to use our entire hour just downloading podcasts from America to listen to later. Enough about that. It is what it is, and we are happy. Here is my story. My group was assigned guard duty at the west gate of a government-controlled series of warehouses. While the contents of these are of some interest, they are not necessarily military or warlike stuff. The truth is, I really don't know what's in there, but that night, Building 7 had a lot of activity. We were told to be sharp. No one was to pass without proper identification and must have the day's code word. A black van pulled up to the gate. It had no identification marks, which was very strange. The driver stepped out of the van, and we began our inspection. He had all the proper papers and the day's code word. As per protocol, we had to inspect the contents of the van. Everything inside were in crates, and each had a proper seal. We passed him through. One of the guards who had been inside the van started to complain about nausea. I too felt a little sick, but it soon passed, and we all went back on duty. About an hour later, the guard who had been in the van vomited and then passed out. We called for assistance for our fallen friend. It came, but it came too fast. Usually medics were not stationed at this place. They took him away, and none of us ever recall seeing him again. The rest of the evening was quiet until about 2 a.m. Building 7 began to glow. None of us knew what was happening. The officer in charge called from the gatehouse, but got no reply. We all wanted to run to the building in support, but our leader reminded us that our job was clear. We were to protect the entrance and set about doing just that. I was ordered into the woods to set a flanking point in case of unlawful entry. Screams broke through the air, all coming from what now was a blue and white glow. We could no longer see Building 7, and it hurt our eyes to look in that direction. Then, it all just stopped. The glow faded, and the building remained. Then came the explosion. It was not one of fire and smoke, but of splitting wood and steel. A shape rose from the wreckage. It was glowing white and blue, and it shot up into the night sky at an impossible speed and was gone. Finally, the all-clear was sounded by a flurry of activity around the compound. We received our orders and stayed on duty at that gate for the next 14 hours with no relief. All of us were taken by truck to a shadow location. I call it that because I'd never been there before or since. We were debriefed, told never to discuss the incident, and all were reassigned to different companies. I don't ask you to believe my story. It feels good just to get it off my chest. I cannot and will not tell you where this happened, when, or even my real name. Keep the podcast coming, and those 5-minute mysteries make my wife laugh. Thank you, Richard. Well, Jason, was I right or was I wrong? Is that the strangest story you've ever heard?
That is a strange story. Very strange.
So a couple things that I did was I tried to backtrace his IP address, and the closest thing I could get was to a Google server here in the United States. That doesn't bode well for the believability of the story, but I just don't know. And like he said in the beginning, English is not his first language. And there were a couple words that he used that really threw me off. And one, he called the truck that arrived a tozer truck. Now, I spent a lot of time trying to track that down, and what I found was a very obscure video, comes out of Germany, about a military vehicle. It's a type of military vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's very obscure, very odd, just not even sure it was the right thing. And then another thing is that he did not use the word warehouse. He used the word lagerhouse, which is, if you take the literal term, lager is a form of beer, and it's a German beer. Mm-hmm. But in reality, a lagerhaus or Haus is actually the term for warehouse in Germany. So there's so much stuff that just adds to the strangeness that I believe this one. I don't know, maybe he made the story up, maybe he didn't, but there's definitely a lot of strangeness around it.
Yeah, there is. And, when you can't validate the person, and it seems like it always leads to a dead end, that automatically puts up your suspicion, and it makes you want to doubt it. But on the other hand, like you said, if he talks about it, he could go to jail. So if they did find out about it and they were able to trace it back to him, he's in a lot of trouble. So I kind of see where he'd want some little anonymous type of scenario going on there. But, when you tell a story like that, make yourself known to us. That way we can at least validate it or something. So I get it on both sides.
Yeah, but just for a moment, take it as total truth, okay? Just for a moment. Just assume that it actually happened just as he said.
Okay.
Isn't this something right out of Roswell? I mean, it's as big as that.
Yeah.
Without any doubt. Now, totally fake. Let's say for a minute that this story was written by little Jimmy in Arkansas, okay?
Okay.
Darn creative.
Yeah.
Way too many details, like internet cafe and, like I mentioned, the Lagerhouse and the Tozer truck. All of those things, way too much detail for someone that doesn't at least put a lot of effort into the story.
Right.
So even then, it's still a strange story. I absolutely love this story. I have no idea if it's true. My mind says no way, because it's just too big of an event to keep it hidden. And they tried to hide Roswell, and look how that went.
Right.
So, final thoughts on it. What do you think?
I'll call it plausible.
Okay.
Because there is a chance that it could be there, probably with a little bit more backing, and maybe a second person that was there that might be able to validate it somehow would make it even more, substantiated. But I'm going to call it plausible.
I like that. I like plausible. You don't have to make a comment on whether you believe it or not. All right, Jason. Question number 3. Yeah.
All right. This one is, I guess, for either of us, really, or if we have some type of input, we could both put something to this one. It says, is there an update to the puppet story? Is all still quiet? By April Strickland from Paris Township, Ohio.
Well, first let me say I've been to Paris Township, Ohio, and that is a little teeny town.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. Not that I'm putting your town down, April. I'm just saying that's a teeny tiny town. Okay. Well, Jason, is there an update on the puppet? Has he made any moves, or is he still just sitting there doing nothing?
He is still sitting there doing nothing. A little while ago, though, I just for laughs, I decided to pull away that little piggy bank with the little voodoo doll inside of it to see if anything would happen. It hasn't. However, since I've done that, things in my house have been in quite disarray.
No.
So I can't guarantee that it's the two together. I can't guarantee that it's one or the other. And I cannot guarantee it comes from any of it. It could just be just bad luck. But a lot of things have happened inside the house, and I have not put them back yet. But the puppet has not moved. It has not done anything out of the ordinary, more human-like, like Chucky would have done on the movie or anything like that. It's still sitting in the exact same spot, and so is the other one where I put it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the night that you actually did the investigation on the puppet and did get some activity, that was right after a major hurricane. Is that right?
That is right. That was the Category 5 that came out through Tampa.
My understanding is, now I've never been in a hurricane. You have been in probably more than you want to count.
Yes.
But isn't the air charged up when there's a hurricane? I know it gets really, really like drenching humidity and super hot temperatures, but is the air charged?
Well, let me kind of tell you, when they say calm before the storm, that is no lie. What it feels like when you go inside your bed and you put over all the blankets on top of you and hold them really, really tight against your skin and your head, you're covering your head and everything. It's very thick and muggy, and you cannot hear anything. It's almost to the point like you have ear muffles on, and it's calming. You're not going to freak out about it, but you know something's just not right. That's about what it feels like right before a storm like that. You don't get any wind. You don't get any rain. It's just like you're sitting underneath a blanket, a heavy, heavy comforter with a couple of pounds on it wrapped around you, and you can't hear much when you walk outside. So there's definitely a charge to the air that is noticeable. I mean, even the birds don't sing. You don't see any animals running around like squirrels or anything like that, because they're hankering down for what's going to happen. So it definitely has an eerie feel about it before it happens. And after the storm, it's kind of like that for a little bit, but it's just super wet and super muggy, but you don't have that heavy feel in the air anymore. So I'm thinking it's probably a negative or positive charge that is coming in the air that would give you some of that effect.
Now, maybe you can't answer this question, but do paranormal events increase before and after hurricanes?
Well, I can't really answer it to say yes or no. However, I have heard that more people have had some stuff happen in their house. We get a few more stories before that and sometimes after it, but I can't say there's enough to substantiate a definite increase in these types of things because of a storm. So it's plausible. Again,
okay.
I guess it kind of depends on where you are in the state of Florida. Because like the one that just went right up the coast, nothing happened over here, but that charge was still in the air. Now, I didn't hear anything different from anybody, but what it can do is the fear of what is about to happen can make you think the worst in things. You're already on a heightened security. You're worried about things. Your mind will play tricks on you. So it's possible that it's not necessarily an actual event happening with a paranormal incident. It could actually be something of a psychosis because you're going through something that you might not survive from. So look at it both ways. It could go. Now, we do have more paranormal activity when we get full moon. I can absolutely tell you is true. Or when Jupiter and Saturn pop out for some God only knows reason.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It kind of dawned on me that there may be some listeners who aren't aware of the puppet or what we went through with that. And I will have a link to that episode of Ron's Amazing Stories. Actually, it was a Horror Express. And I'll have a link to that so that people can listen to that and know that we're talking about. But in a nutshell, a listener sent Jason an actual puppet that was causing him personal issues, and Jason did an overnight investigation with a fellow investigator and actually had some pretty interesting results that night. So And all of that is in the show, and I will have those in the show notes.
That's a good idea.
Now, I don't have an update about the puppet, but prior to doing the puppet episode, we did 2 doll episodes. Do you remember those?
Yes, I do.
And in that, one of the things that you challenged me to do was to take a picture of most of my mom's collection and send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
And do you remember you looked at all those pictures and you came up with 2 dolls that you felt had something with them? And specifically, one of the dolls you said was not in her original dress. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And it turns out when I went to my mother, she said, hey, that is not her original dress. I bought it at a used clothing store. And not only that, but it was from an estate sale for a child that had died. So that adds the creepy factor, 190%?
About that.
Well, I have an update on that doll. And she struck again, doing some strange stuff. We were having a family get-together, and my niece, who I won't name here, was not feeling well, and she asked her grandmother if it would be all right if she go lie down in her bedroom. Well, she did, and she was lying there. She had a migraine headache, I think she had. And Jason, darned if that doll didn't talk to her.
Really?
It's not clear what she said, but the doll was mumbling stuff, and she took and looked at the doll, and it was talking. Now, you can read into it, hey, she wasn't feeling well, hallucination, but same doll, same weird dress, same everything, and that doll acted out right then and there.
That's cool.
I have no reason to doubt it. She said that she got up, walked out of my grandmother's bedroom, closed the door, and went and laid down on the couch. And everything was fine after that.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
how about that?
I think most of us would have done the exact same thing that she did. I probably would have checked to make sure I didn't spike myself with, cold medicine first. But yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
I really wish you would have had what it said. That would have been really cool.
No, she said it was just mumbling that she couldn't make it out, but it definitely came from the doll. And on that side of the room where the doll was at that time, there's no televisions, no radios, nothing that could have been making any noise electronically. Nothing. Mm-hmm. There was nothing on that side of the room that could have made any kind of noise. So, creepy? Yeah.
It is creepy.
But I tell you, I've gone in when my mother wasn't feeling well. I spent a lot of time in taking care of her, and I had to go into her bedroom a lot. And I swear, Jason, this is not a lie. And it could be just heightened senses like you were talking before. But every time I walk into that room, I glance over and look at that doll. I cannot help myself. It just is a presence, if that makes any sense.
You.
No, I am not a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. I have less psychic ability than a stone. So, but I do that every time. I cannot go in that room without seeing that doll, and it's right there.
Wow.
So that's my update.
No, but we did talk about that in a dolls episode and stuff like that. So, that's fun to hear stories like those.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I think that was question number 3. So I'm assuming it's time to move on to tell me what's going on with Gladys Goodies.
Well, we're trying some new things. I'm trying to hit the road. I really like this idea of like an ice cream truck concept where I could go around, have all the treats in the back of a truck, and go right to people's doors. And unfortunately, fortunately for me, unfortunately for the owners, once the dogs hear that type of horn or whatever the song that's playing, they know that's going to be associated with a treat. It's not going to be fun for the owner. But I really like that concept, and so it's something I'm trying to figure out how to implement better.
Pavlov dog type thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still doing everything online. Everybody can get stuff online. In fact, I added a ton of new swag products. So, I mean, we got let's see here. We got some new bowls. We got some new toys. We got some new collars and harnesses, all kinds of cool stuff up there. So one of the things I'm going to be doing here for the fall season is we're going to try to get some stuff out there to help keep your dogs warm, especially in the colder states. I know you're probably in a pretty cool state, and a lot of other ones too. The dogs got to stay warm. So what we're doing is we're giving 15% off bed warmers. These are little non-electrical pads that are activated by touch and pressure. And it gives the dog a warmer surface. So if they sleep on the floor or something like that, great place for them to have a little bit of warmth. We also are doing 20% off our own handmade blankets that have really cool little patterns for your dog. So you can put them in the bed. You can put them in there on the floor for them to snuggle up in. And we're giving 25% off brewer's yeast tablets. Now, brewer's yeast is a really cool item because not only is it packed full of B vitamins, it also helps your dog if they have anxiety to kind of relax. So if they're a little bit more hyper, it will help them relax a little bit. If they have separation anxiety, it might help them like that. It's kind of like a Xanax without the medicinal impact on the dog where they'd be high all the time. And the best part about it is if you're a naturalist and you don't like to use all these heavy chemicals that are very expensive, brewer's yeast is actually something that you can give your dog that helps repel fleas. When they eat it, it actually improves the health of their skin and fur. But in doing so, it gives off a scent that the fleas and ticks don't like. We can't smell it, but they can. So they generally stay away from the dog. It's not 100%, foolproof, but if it can keep down some of the infestation a little bit and keep the dog from getting bit, because sometimes when they get bit, they get those little allergic scabby reactions and stuff to it. It's worth a shot, and it has no adverse effects on the dogs. So those are some of the things we got coming up throughout here. And I'm also making some new mix and match packages, and they're going to have some really cool slang names to it, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, Jason, you're going to have to give us a website name.
Well, I can do that. It is www.gladdysgoodies.com, GLADDYSGOODIES.com. And use the promo code RONS to get 25% off your order.
Well, Jason, I think that's great. I know that I've had a couple people say that they're going to get over there and take a look at that. In fact, my brother said he's not really interested in the treats, but he's going to check out the swag.
Well, that's fine with me. I mean, you got to keep them looking good, right?
Yeah, he's a multiple dog owner, so let's hope he does that. Jim, if you're out there, go do that. You promised you would. Well, Jason, I think that we have reached the end of our podcast.
Yes, we have, unfortunately.
And you know what that means.
I'm getting thrown off the car again?
Yeah, and with your current injuries, I can't imagine this is going to be fun at all.
No.
You're looking better, though. You were kind of all pale. Now you look really... You're starting to get your color back after the kitty attack.
Well, I'm generating more blood, so that generally happens when that occurs.
Anyway, I did talk to the conductor, and I said, hey, can we please add a stop in Florida? You know what he said?
No.
That's what he said.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to give you the option. We've tried mailbags. You tried jumping into the bay, and that led to some tickling whales, I believe. But yes. Where would you like to get off this time?
Ooh, it's never a good pick. Let's see. How about
the happiest place on earth?
Disney.
What do you think?
I love that idea.
All right. The happiest place on earth. All right, Jason, we got to get into the mail car, so let's get back there, and we'll get you off this train to the happiest place on earth. What could possibly go wrong?
Probably mobbed by kids, but I can handle that.
All right, here we go.
All right.
All right, Jason, are you going to go with mailbag or without?
With.
All right, so let's get you in here. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All yours.
See you real soon. I think Space Mountain's open.
Here's something I found while searching for Halloween stuff. The song is called The House is Haunted, and it was performed by the Roy Fox Orchestra in 1934. Roy was an American-born bandleader who was quite popular in England during the British dance band era. I hope you enjoy it, and happy Halloween.
I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye.
This time I want to thank Tracy Jensen, Sonia Black, the mysterious Richard, and of course my very good friend Jason Dowd. This podcast was awesome because of you guys. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, just head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find an amazing number of links that should fit every need. Do you want to help the show? The best thing that you can do is to tell your friends all about it. And please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. This is what helps us to grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.